Hey everybody, it's Matabui here with another video for Throne and Liberty. Today I'm going to be bringing you my damage over time Shadow Priest build for Staff Wand. This has been much awaited. I apologize for the delay. I was moving in real life and that took a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but I'm back in action here, and here's the video for the damage over time Shadow Priest build. Before I get started with the video, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who has liked and subscribed, commented on my videos on my channel. I have a goal right now set for 2024 to try to get to 200 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm sitting at 114 currently, so if I can get there, I'd be super happy. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. I also live stream on Twitch. You can find my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Matabui. If you're not aware, from now for the next couple of weeks, you're going to get free ornate coins, you're going to get free titles, free dungeon tokens, you're going to get free drops just for watching my live stream channel, and you can find that again at twitch.tv/Matabui. One more thing before I get started, I really want to thank everyone who's commented on the channel, private messaged me and offered me critiques, feedback, criticism, whatever it is you want to call it. I take it all in. I listen to all of it. I appreciate it all. So you've given me feedback like get rid of the background music. I thought that was something beneficial. It's completely not. Removed. How to do my audio levels, just general editing techniques, or even gameplay advice. I really appreciate all of it. The good, the bad, the ugly, the positive, the negative. Thank you for providing some sort of feedback on my channel. No matter what you're saying, it's going to help me. So thank you for that. And without wasting any more time, let's get on to the build. I've got my little girl here, Minnie, on my lap. If you hear any cat meowing, that's her. That's not me cosplaying as a furry. Anyways, here we go. Let's get started with it. So for your defense skills, I'm using Chaotic Shield. I use that for every single build that I do, whether it's PvE, PvP. Hi, Manny. Thanks for moving my microphone around. Whether it's PvE, PvP, whether I'm healing, whether I'm doing damage, I always use Chaotic Shield. I just find that the healing and the counterattack are much more beneficial with the Chaotic Shield than with the Mystic Shield. You would think with me saying that I would have leveled up Chaotic Shield a little bit higher, but I haven't, as you can see. That's something I really got to work on. But for defense skills, it's dealer's choice. If you prefer using Mystic Shield, go ahead and use it. I just prefer using Chaotic Shield. It really doesn't matter either way. It's what you prefer playing. So going into my rotation, I'll explain it a little bit more when I get into the skill specialization, but I'm going to start up with Touch of Despair. This is going to immediately apply my first dot weaken curse onto the target. Second, I'm hitting them with Decaying Touch. This is going to apply my second dot weaken curse on the target. Now, even though it does say weaken curse, a lot of people think that it's going to amalgamate or go all into one weaken curse. These are going to apply separate curses, which are going to be separate damage over time. So you'll have one for Touch of Despair, one for Decaying Touch. You'll also have one for Time for Punishment. Even though it has a 90% chance to apply, think of that as a 9 out of 10 chance to apply your weaken curse onto the target. Most of the time you're going to apply it, so that's going to be 3 damage over time, 3 dot skills applied to the target within about 1 to 2 seconds. I follow that up with Curse Explosion. I have talent spec'd or skill specialized it to be 50% less damage, but maintain all of the damage over time, all of the dots on the target, as opposed to doing 100% damage and removing those dots. Again, this is going to be kind of personal preference, dealer's choice. If you think it's more beneficial to keep the regular Curse Explosion and remove all of the damage over time skills in favor of doing 100% damage, by all means go for it. I just personally find that for me, it's more beneficial for my playstyle to try and keep the damage over time, the dots on the target as long as possible, and being able to do that with keeping Curse Explosion at 50% damage, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. One thing I do want to very quickly point out, though, and I will try to feature this in a separate video if I have the time to do it, is Curse Explosion right now with the most recent update is bugged, it's glitched, it's not working entirely as intended. I'm going to do, like I said, a separate video on it. But if you're noticing that Curse Explosion is not working as intended, it's not doing the damage that you think it's going to do, it's not a problem with you, it's not a problem with your build. They have done something wrong with Curse Explosion, and they are working to fix it. So if you're just noticing something a little wonky, something a little different, not working as intended, take a look into why that might be. It's probably not your build, it's probably not your playstyle, it's probably just Curse Explosion has been broken at the moment. Fifth in my rotation, I'm going to go with Serial Firebombs. This is going to add a weaken burning onto the target. This is going to add another damage over time. It does not apply as a curse, however, so I can't use Karmic Haze to spread that. However, this is just another damage over time skill. It's going to add to my other damage over time. It's also going to give me 3 separate opportunities to get a critical strike. Going on with healing, I went with Swift Healing and Fountain of Life with this build. If you saw my arena PvP build, I forgo Fountain of Life instead of in favor of Clay's Salvation. There's reasons for that. If you want to go back and watch my arena build video, you'll understand why I did that. In this build, however, I did go with Fountain of Life. I found it more beneficial in this particular circumstance. Instead of having the extra healing skills like Clay's Salvation, I actually swapped that over to Janice's Rage. This is a damage over time key point on damage, so I want to be doing as much damage as I can. I'm not the healer in this group. It's nice to be able to do some off healing, some solo healing. However, if I'm doing a PvE, PvP scenario, I'm not the main healer if I'm using this build. So I don't need to focus on healing. I need to focus on damage. I'm going to go with Janice's Rage. It's going to add an additional 5.4% damage for all of my party members. I also go with Victorious Energy, and what this is going to do is my magic, melee, and range hit chance is going to increase by 400, as well as my evasion is going to increase by 400 for 12 seconds. Less for the evasion, you're going to need that in a PvP scenario. This is more for the hit chance in a boss scenario or in a PvE scenario when you're fighting. I always have Icebound Tomb on my hotbar. I just find it's really handy. It's my get out of jail free card if someone decides to attack me in PvP. It's beneficial in PvE scenarios. I find for this build, I use it a lot more than sleep, which is kind of ironic to most people. Most people are going to run a sleep build when they're running damage over time as opposed to a freeze build. I went with Icebound Tomb instead. As opposed to trying to sleep someone and run away, or sleep someone and do my damage over time, if I'm going to fight them, I'm going to fight them. If I'm using Icebound Tomb, it's because I want to get the hell out of there. And we're going to wrap that up at the end with Inner Peace. This is just going to give me my mana regen. This build is a little more mana heavy than some of my other builds, so I do find myself using Inner Peace more often than those, which is why it's on the hotbar. If you see my other videos, I pretty much always have it on the hotbar. I don't know why you wouldn't. This is just, you don't even need mana potions. You can use this once every 44.5 seconds because of my cooldown reduction, and it just basically gets my mana almost all the way to the top. On to the passive skills. I'm just going to go through these real quick because if you're playing Staff Wand, you know what these do. I can explain them a little bit further later on, though. But I went with Devotion and Emptiness. This is going to increase my skill heal. I went with Wraith's Beckon. This is going to increase, obviously, my curse duration as well as my curse chance. So remember before with Time and Punishment or Time for Punishment, it had a 90% chance. Well, with this, it now has a 94% chance. Vampiric Contract, this is going to restore your allies' health. This is going to restore health to you based on the damage you do due to your curses. Since this is a damage over time curse build, the amount of passive healing you're going to do in this is tremendous. You're going to be an amazing backup healer in a group. The passive healing for PvP is fantastic when you're fighting other players. Asceticism, acetaminophen. I'm going to have to get this phonetically pronounced for me. I don't know how to say it, but it's going to increase your mana regen. When you're remaining stationary, it's also going to increase your heavy attack chance. Heavy attack chance also applies to your heals, your damage, as well as your damage over time. Mana Amp, pretty self-explanatory, just like I've said in every single other one. I could probably just cut and paste the clip when I talk about some of these, like Mana Amp. It's going to increase your maximum mana. It's also going to increase your maximum health. Mo mana, mo health, mo happiness. Going on with Noble Revival, this is also going to increase your skill heal. The more mana you have, the more your skill heal is going to increase. That goes right back to Mana Amp. Full of Corruption increases your maximum damage by 32 and mana regen by 28 when the victim of the curse of the user's weaken effect dies. Since all of your skills are going to put weaken on them, in a PvE scenario, you constantly have your maximum damage increase as well as your mana regen. And I finish it off with Forbidden Sanctuary. It's going to increase your skill damage by 140. It's going to decrease all of your mana cost efficiency by 15%. With the mana cost efficiency I already have, as well as the mana pool that I have and Inner Peace, I never really worry too much about running out of mana. It's not an issue. Over to skill specialization. You can see this one's a little more mixed. I'm still working on this a bit, but I am... Well, I don't really care what they're doing in the guild contract right now. I've got 23 points into staff, 75 points into wand. I'm just going to very briefly go over these for you here. Trying to keep these videos as concise as I can. I found that my last couple of videos went in the 20 to 30 minute range, and I think once you get in the 20 to 30 minute range, I'm not sure about you, but at that point I've finished smoking my joint, my bowl has run out, I'm getting bored, it's time to move on. So I'm trying to keep these in the 15 to 20 minute range if I can. We'll see what happens. Info takes time though, right? Anyways, Serial Fire Bombs. I decided not to go with the mobility on this because since it's instant cast, I only have to stop for a split second. Basically, you can essentially consider this as casting while mobile without having to spend the 3 points on it. I also didn't go with the focused firebombs. Focused firebombs is going to do more damage. However, having 3 serial firebombs thrown out instead of 1 focused firebomb, it gives you 3 opportunities for a critical strike. It also gives you more opportunities to stack weaken burn on the target. More weaken burning on the target means more damage over time. So since this is a damage over time spec and not a direct damage spec, I went with the serial firebombs as opposed to the focused firebombs. If you're going for a more direct damage build, go for the focused firebombs 10 out of 10 times. I took the range increase to increase his range by 3 meters. I took the projectile speed by 200%, and I also took the instant casting, which is going to let me pop those 3 out. Bump, 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 1, 2, 3. On to Victorious Energy. Victorious! Targets expanded. I did not go with. I didn't think it was worth it. For me, this is a very selfish build. This is my damage over time build, so I went for me getting the damage boost. Instead, I went with Victorious Energy, which is going to increase my hit chance and my evasion chance like you saw earlier. It's also going to increase my maximum damage by 45. Had I done the targets expanded, it would only increase it by 15. Again, I'm greedy as hell. This is all about me. I want my damage. I increased my maximum damage by 45 with this build. That's everything for the staff side of things. On to the wand. Going up here, Touch of Despair, fully maxed out. We went with the range increase, which is going to increase the range of it by 3 meters. It's also going to target additional 2. Let me say that again without saying it the wrong way. What this is going to do is it's going to target 2 additional nearby targets, and it's going to increase the radius that it can target them in within 3 meters. It's also going to increase the effect of my Weaken Curse by 3 seconds, and it also has a 50% chance to apply 2 stacks instead of 1 stack. Curse Explosion, once again, if you missed this, if you were doing something earlier and you missed it, I just want to explain real quick. Curse Explosion is currently somewhat broken. I will be doing a separate video kind of explaining more in detail what's going on. But if you notice that your Curse Explosion isn't working as intended, it has nothing to do with your build, it has nothing to do with your playstyle, it has nothing to do with you. It's not Curse. It's not you. It's Curse Explosion, right? it's broken and it's not working currently as intended. So just be aware of that. The way it's supposed to work, however, is I triple stacked it here. I went with the Dark Explosion. What that does is Curse Explosion no longer consumes the damage over time effect on the targets. However, Curse Explosion is going to Curse Explosion damage is going to decrease by 50%. My personal feelings on this is I'd rather keep my damage over time, my dot skills on the target, as opposed to having to reapply them. This is going to keep them on there longer as opposed to removing them. It's your choice. I might change my mind later and swap it over, but for now, this is what I've gone with. I also want damage increase for Touch of Despair. Touch of Despair's damage is going to be boosted by 10% per stack. More damage. It's his damage over time, right? We want more damage over time. And I changed this from an AoE skill to a focus target. It's also going to reduce the cooldown by 6 seconds. So I can pop this off a little bit easier. I'm not too worried about this not being an AoE skill. That's what I have Karmic Haze for. I did put points into Swift Healing just for the consecutive use. That's the only part of my build that I put into healing in any way. Decaying Touch. We've gone ahead and swapped this over. It's going to apply Weaken Curse to the target as opposed to an AoE skill, and I changed this over to do increased damage to the target. Once again, I'm not too worried about having AoE skills in my pocket because with Karmic Haze, every skill I have becomes an AoE skill essentially. Clay's Salvation, I swapped over to Janice's Rage so I can get the extra 5.4% damage. Time for Punishment, I did the effect duration plus 3 seconds. Once again, this is all about trying to keep damage over time on the target, keep as many stacks of it on the target for as long as I can on the target. That's why I don't have Curse Explosion removing those. Why I don't have Curse Explosion removing those off of the target. It's why everything else is also stacked for increased duration. More duration on the target means less times I have to cast it. It's more time I can spend casting other skills, being a backup healer, keeping that mana in my pocket, not wasting it essentially. And following that up, finally with Karmic Haze, this is going to turn every single spell you have into an AoE skill. I'm going to increase the range by 2 meters. It's also going to do an additional 200% damage to the target, or targets, I should say, depending on how many it hits. So that's my weapon skills. That's my skill specialization. I'll just give you a moment to take a look over that one more time before I swap over to my equipment screen. All right, and over to the equipment screen now. Please don't judge me. Like I said, I missed a lot of time, a lot of playtime due to moving, and it was when the update was happening. I didn't get to do the runes. I've just gotten started on the runes. If you drop a comment and tell me that my equipment sucks, my runes suck, whatever, I totally understand. You're absolutely right. This is a work in progress. But speaking of work in progress, let me show you what I'm working on here. I am using the Excavator's Mysterious Scepter. This is your best in slot item. Even though this is a damage over time skill slot, or a damage over time skill specialization or build. Come on, Matabui words. I do have Laqueris's Coveted Tomb. It does have more wisdom and perception as well as critical hit chance. I just find having the maximum mana as well as the strength is more beneficial. I keep this on me just in case, but lately I've been using the Excavator's Wand for pretty much everything. If you're lucky enough to get Excavator's Wand, use it. If not, Laqueris's Coveted Tomb is the very good second choice until you can get your hands on it. When it comes to the offhand and the staff, I'm using Staff of the Umbermancer. It's a very big toss-up because I do have Tublex Shatter and Quarterstaff. I do like the Tublex boost on that, which is going to increase your critical hit chance. That's going to apply to your damage over time, to your damage skills, as well as your healing skills. I just found, like, both of them have got cooldown reduction speed. One has dexterity, the other one has strength and perception. I just found that Staff of the Umbermancer is better. As you can see, I'm going to swap over. It's going to lower me by... Oh, Jesus, what am I doing here? It's going to lower my gear score, even though both are +9 and both are triple traded out. Obviously, my Staff of the Umbermancer is better. I'm going to flip-flop on this a little bit. If you have Tublex Quarterstaff, use it. If you have Staff of the Umbermancer, use it. If you have both, find out what works best for your playstyle. I'm still kind of figuring this one out, but from what I found out so far, just from my own experimenting, I found that Staff of the Umbermancer beats Tublex Shatter and Quarterstaff. If you prove me wrong or you got other information, like, by all means, let me know. Going over to my gear now, I've got the Ascended Guardian Hood. I've got 4 pieces of this set, which is going to give me the cooldown speed of 7.5%. It's also going to give me additional 25% skill heal. I could probably swap some of these out if I go over to my PvP build, for example. My PvP build uses Visage of the Executioner, as well as Shadow Harvester Tunic. I've taken off my pants for now. I got to put some more back on. Ta-da! But for my PvE set, since this is mainly a healer set, I do go with the Ascended Guardian Hood. I've got the Supreme Devotion Cape, or Cloak. I've got the Ascended Guardian Raiment, the Ascended Guardian Gloves. I've got a lot of Ascended Guardian here. The Ascended Guardian Pants. The Swirling Essence Boots, the Swirling Essence Shoes. I do have the Ascended Guardian Boots on me as well. I'm not using them just because right now I'm finding that the extra perception, the critical hit chance, as well as having it triple traded out is more beneficial than having the movement speed and the melee evasion and only a single trait. Once I get my Ascended Guardian Shoes triple traded out, however, that melee evasion and movement speed is just, it is the chef's kiss, especially in the PvP scenario. I'm using Clasp of the Conqueror, again, until I can find something better. This is not my best in slot, but I'm using it for the moment. I'm also using the Ascended Guardian Bracelet. Just be aware, this does not apply towards the Ascended Guardian set. The Ascended Guardian set is only the actual cloth pieces that you're going to be wearing, not the accessories. However, this is, I believe, one of your best in slots right now. It's got the Wisdom, it's got Mana, it's got Stun Resistance, and I do need to get that triple traded out. I'm using the Sapphire Dimensional Band on one finger. I'm also using the Amber Dimensional Band on the other finger. I'm going to be using that until I get the Band of Universal Power. Once I get the Band of Universal Power, whenever the hell the game decides to bless me with it, I'll be keeping the Sapphire Dimensional Band. I'll be getting rid of the Amber Dimensional Band and replacing it with the other ring. And I'm also using the Forbidden Eternal Chain. I like the perception, I like the health, and as you can see, almost none of my stuff is triple traded out because I've done a lot of upgrading recently, and I just don't have the Lucent or the time to be able to upgrade it completely. So even though I only have a 3160 gear score, if you were to follow this build and actually triple trade everything out and upgrade it, you're going to get it a lot higher than that. I'll very quickly show you my PvP build on here. It's somewhat similar, because a lot of the gear is the same. I've got the Ascended Guardian Pants, the Swirling Essence Shoes, for example, Supreme Devotion Cloak. I'm also still using the Ascended Guardian Gloves. The big difference for my PvP set, however, is I'm using Visage of the Executioner for my headpiece. I'm using Shadow Harvester Tunic for the chest. I've got the Icy Necklace of Strength for my necklace. The Bracers of Primal King for my bracers. This was a big toss-up between the Bracers of the Primal King and... where are you here? The Ascended Guardian Bracelet. I find for a PvP scenario, the Bracers of the Primal King are better. For a PvE scenario, the Ascended Guardian Bracelet is better. Either one of those is going to fill that slot perfectly. So no matter which one you get, just go ahead and use it. And again, I've got the Amber Dimensional Band, I've got the Sapphire Dimensional Band, and I'm using the Flame Rot bindings in this one here instead of the Forbidden Eternal Chain. It's going to give me a little bit less health, but it also gives me 170 melee endurance. It gives me collision resistance. It's much better in a PvP scenario. My stats really quickly, I've got 50 strength, 15 dexterity, 43 wisdom, 54 perception, and I ignore fortitude like it doesn't even exist, basically. And I'm currently using the Point Made title. I know I mentioned this before, but I do stream on Twitch. You can follow my channel at twitch.tv/Matabui. From now until mid-January, you're going to get drop rewards just for watching my channel while I'm streaming. Those are going to include ornate coins. They're going to include dungeon tokens. They also include some titles, and one of them is the Point Made title, so I'm representing that right now. I am revealing my... I mean, I could wear my headpiece. I'm wearing the Santa helmet right now because it's festive time. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, just taking part in the video. Have fun out there.